So Promethera Biosciences is focused on developing liver cell therapies for liver disease. We're going after a number of targets from, on the one hand, the very orphan disease, urea cycle disorder, to the very large multi-billion-dollar market NASH, non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, and then in between acute on chronic liver failure. A little bit about how we started. We started officially in 2009 in Belgium. So we have 8 years of experience now in a corporate setting developing liver cell therapies for liver diseases. But last year we acquired the German cell therapy company called Cytonet. So in fact, with the acquisition of the assets of Cytonet and the personnel, we in fact have over 20 years of experience in a commercial setting. We've been able to assemble the expertise plus intellectual property under one roof. So we're now the largest liver cell therapy company on the planet. Through the acquisition, we have multiple products going after multiple indications. We have 3 products. I'll go into those in a few minutes. But these products are cryopreserved autologous cell therapy products, and they are all derived from whole human livers that are not suitable for transplantation. We get the raw material, the livers, from really 2 sources. The first is our United States organ procurement organizations. We have partnerships with over 95% of those. And on top of that, we have a very well-renowned tissue bank in Belgium, just out of Brussels, and we get organ supply and liver supply as well from there. So we're at the point where we're getting 300 to 400 liver offers a month. So that's really important because it allows us to be very selective in the type of livers that we bring in to make the best quality products. But more importantly, with that kind of supply, it will allow us to meet the market demands of the very large indications like NASH. I'll go into our investor consortium in a few slides, so I'll talk about that in a minute. But we have really 2 sites. We've got the U.S. site, which is based in North Carolina. We do raw material sourcing, manufacturing, quality unit, and then over in Brussels, we have finance, clinical development, regulatory affairs. We also have a stem cell manufacturing facility as well. Oh, that's why it didn't work. Okay. So this slide is really showing the critical requirements needed to deliver a frozen autologous cell therapy product to the patient. So as I mentioned, we've got the liver sourcing fairly well defined, again, through both of the different entities. We have cell isolation that's occurring in the Durham manufacturing facility. Again, 20 years of processing 2,000 to 3,000 livers. We've got a lot of experience in that area. We then can take some of those products, send them over to Belgium, where they're further manufactured for the different stem cell products that we have. We have intellectual property around storage and delivery of the product, as well as reconstitution and application. In this case, reconstitution means we're taking the cryopreservation out of the cell product in a safe manner that allows us to transplant the cells, and then ultimately into the patient. So we have 3 products. I'm going to start with the one on the far right, that's Hepa. This is the primary hepatocyte product. The liver, essentially, we determine which kind of liver we want. We bring it into our facility, put a collagenase into the organ, break it down, clean it up, freeze it. The entire process is 12 to 14 hours. There is no culturing of the cell product. You really can't grow primary human hepatocytes. So those cells are fully functional liver cells, and so we're using them to treat genetic disorders and enzyme replacement. On the far left, we have the Hepa Stem product, which is really a mesenchymal stem cell-derived product. Also, it comes from livers, the liver cells that we send over to Belgium. But those cells are really used to control inflammatory processes, and because they're an MSC, they actually have MSC-like capabilities. So we can grow and grow and grow those cells for quite a long time, which of course is decreasing the cost of goods. And then in between, we have a product that's really early in the development stage called H2 Stem. We're really calling it a progenitor cell. It's somewhere between the stem cell product because it has some capacity to grow, not nearly as much as the Hepa Stem product, but it also has primary human hepatocyte function like the Hepa, but again, not nearly at the same level. So we think we've got an opportunity to work in the tissue repair field for the H2 Stem product, but again, that's quite early in the development. So our product pipeline, we've got Hepa Stem that is currently in phase 2 studies in Europe for acute on chronic liver failure. We're about to enter NASH and fibrosis in both Europe and the United States in 2018 with, again, the Hepa Stem product. And we do a lot of, partnerships, out-licensing, co-development programs. And this Hepa Stem-based gene therapy that you see in the pipeline is in fact that. So it's an external partnership where we're looking to treat hemophilia by having a combination stem cell and gene therapy product. So we're always looking for partnerships like that, especially if it's in the liver disease area. So as I said, the H2 stem product's a little early, but tissue engineering and maybe alpha-1 antitrypsin disease are indications that we're looking at. And then finally, Heparesc is our most advanced product. That's the product that came from the Cytonet acquisition. We've completed clinical studies for that product, specifically for urea cycle disorder, specifically for neonatal onset urea cycle disorder. So it's a very, very small patient population, but we've applied for market approval in Canada, and we hope to find out if we get approval by April or May of next year. For those products, the Heparesc product and the orphan disease area, we are looking for partners to potentially take those programs into other territories and potentially other liver metabolic disorders. The concept here with urea cycle disorder was, can we actually show that it works? And the answer is, it looks like we can. And so now we're looking for other companies to potentially take that to the other liver metabolic disorder space. So what's our approach? So if we believe the CAR T cells heat up the immune system, our concept is that the Hepa Stem product, which is really what I'm going to be focusing on the rest of the presentation, is cooling the immune system. So how are we going to do that? So on the right-hand side, we're seeing essentially liver cells, the pathway for liver damage and liver cell damage. So as you can see, we have hepatocyte damage and apoptosis beginning, then that sets off a cytokine release, T lymphocyte infiltration, activation of dendritic cells, ultimately leading to hepatic stellate cell activation and collagen deposition. So at the cellular level, that's what it looks like. But on the whole organ level, you see a healthy liver at the top works its way down to essentially cirrhosis. So what is this cooling of the immune system doing? So with Hepa Stem, it's of course secreting various cytokines, and so these cytokines are meant to interact during this phase of destruction using these cytokines. So HGF and beta FGF are supporting recovery during the damage process. IDO, PGE2, and HGF are lymphocyte proliferation and inhibiting dendritic cell generation. MMPs are for preventing the degeneration of the extracellular matrix. So the concept is, if we can put the Hepa Stem product into these patients, we can potentially stave off this progression, the disease progression. So as I said, we're in acute liver failure studies in Europe right now. So the study's design is really for trying to understand the dose safety. And so we've got 6 different doses that we're looking at. As low as 25 million cells in one infusion, up to 500 million cells through 2 infusions. The entire study is a 28-day study, and as I said, we're looking for dose safety. We've recently incorporated adding cirrhotic patients into the protocol, and so we've made some changes to the protocol recently, and we're now starting to enroll patients with cirrhosis with some of these clinical indicators. We do have secondary endpoints looking for safety, obviously, and we can take that out to 3 months and 1 year. So with NASH, which is the study that we're in development of the clinical protocol now, we decided we were going to go that route really based on our animal studies. So we used a fairly popular rodent model, the STAM model, and we essentially took the rodent model, the STAM model, and then took the same number of mice and put Hepa Stem product into it to see what happens. And what we were looking for was a decrease in the NAS score. So the NAS score is essentially a combination of steatosis, hepatocyte blooming, and inflammation. So in the vehicle, we have NAS scores of 4. So these are the mice that didn't get the stem cells. The mice that did get the Hepa Stem, actually, their NAS scores were down to 2.2. So it was really, this showed us that we could really move into the clinic, and that's ultimately what we're doing. So I mentioned earlier that we are tapping into the attractive Asian market. The Asian market, of course, there's a huge unmet medical need for liver disease. I think everybody knows that. We have almost a fifth of our investors right now are Asian investors, but they're not just Asian investors. They're actually partners in a lot of ways. So we're using these partnerships and relationships to develop, the KOLs, getting through the regulatory pathway fast. In fact, in some cases, we have development, co-development, and product development programs. So this has become a really big, this has become a very big push for the organization, so we wanted to state that. So with respect to the investors that we have, we've raised a total of $72 million since we started. That does not include the money that came into CytoNet. That was another 150 million euros. So we've got 72 million within the organization now, of which 24 million is non-dilutive funding. Vesalius Biocapital is our largest shareholder right now. We've got some corporate shareholders like Shire and Boehringer Ingelheim, not to mention, of course, again, the Asian investors that we have. So we have a very experienced management team. We've got people that have worked, in Genzyme and Lonza and Tygenix and Baxter. When John Chalendarian, our CEO, when he came in a couple of years ago, he shifted the company. We had one product and we're focused on only rare indications, acute Crigler-Najjar syndrome and urea cycle disorder. When he came in as CEO, he shifted the entire organization. We built the infrastructure to take on the larger indications, which of course is much more attractive to investors. So, in summary, our medium-term goals are really, we have a phase 2 study going for Hepa Stem and acute on chronic liver failure. We'll start a study using Hepa Stem for NASH in 2018. We're continuing to build our manufacturing capabilities. We've got really good manufacturing now in 10-stack systems for the stem cell product, but we're looking to move away from that. It's very cumbersome and expensive, and some of the scale-up technologies that we're looking at could really increase the cell number by almost 1,000. And then, of course, the HEPA filing for urea cycle disorder in Canada. We are actively pursuing discussions for Hepa Stem and hemophilia. I talked about that, and we're always looking to outsource the HEPA program for other indications. And we're continuing to develop work on various applications, including gene therapy. So that's it. If anybody has any questions. Okay, thank you.